So, this is probably the third time that I have tried recording for this video, and this is going to be the last time. I'm not going to edit it, I'm not going to do anything to it. Any breath of air that I take and it's caught on the video, you're gonna have to deal with it. I'm done. Um I'm gonna be so picky about it. I'm a perfectionist. I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna record it. It's gonna be done. I'm gonna put it up. So, people keep asking for my testimony. It's a very common question for whatever reason. And after about 2 months of trying to make a script for it and um, failing miserably, I've put together some notes of what's most important in the storytelling aspect, and then we'll go from there. Um, Basically, my testimony, how I have seen God work through my life, how I have become closer to Him in trials of, I don't want to say agony, but I guess it, and if you want to be dramatic, agony. Um, my friend life was pretty brutal. I had a lot of close friends that were just each and every one kind of just exploded on itself. I um it wasn't good. It would last for about maybe a year or two if I was lucky. And then it just kind of fizzled out into this, I don't know. My first really big, I guess, friendship breakup was a pure ghosting. Like, I don't know if she's alive. I don't know what happened. I don't know where she is. Like, it was, and it was without warning. One day it was, I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll talk to you tomorrow. And then the next day it was nothing. Like, nothing at all. And that was a lot for me because it opened up the door to the idea of hopelessness while trying to be hopeful, and the idea of grief. I had never lost anybody at that time. So I didn't know what it was like to, I mean, I knew what it was like to be sad, and I knew what it was like to be depressed, but that was the first time where it was like, oh, like this feels different. After that, I just found new people, and each one kind of, it would be, yeah, let's be best friends forever, and I think adults know by now that it never ends up that way. Um, it you're really lucky if you find someone who lasts longer than 3 years, unless you work with them and you have to deal with them. Anybody who sticks around by choice for longer than that is pretty legendary. Um, I dealt with a lot of loneliness because of so many betrayals, I guess you could call them. I was always the odd one out. Whenever I wasn't with a close friend, I never did groups very well. I was kind of just like the person who could draw, and that was it. Um, and of course, being in a homeschooled co op for the majority of my life, it was really hard to make new friends because there weren't any new people. It was the same people every single year. So it, like, once um not the beginning school, the if you weren't friends by first grade, you were kind of screwed until graduation. So that's kind of how it went. And we would have a few new people every now and then, but it kind of sucked. So also, I recognize that I didn't give this disclaimer. I'm sick. I am getting over um quite an intense head cold, um and actually maybe something more because I completely collapsed a couple of days ago, and that's a story within itself, which will probably be the next video. But yeah, so if I sound horrible, that's why. Um But yeah, so I dealt with a lot of that. A lot of loneliness, a lot of depression, a lot of depression, which I don't like to talk about because everybody uses it as a, oh my gosh, I'm depressed. I have anxiety. I can't go to work, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And I just found that completely like horrible, completely disgusting. And I refused to be a part of that crowd. So I just kind of swallowed it all down and kept going. There was a period in my life where I was that annoying. I um I would be very prideful about my depression, and not a lot of people realize that there's pride in that type of behavior, but there is. And it wasn't fake. It wasn't a fake depression. Like, I was genuinely sad. I genuinely had my mood swings, but after after I realized how much pride there was, and I kind of like dropped that, it just got it got so much worse, and it made me realize that whatever I had when I was annoying was nothing in comparison to what um I had in store for me. um I had read a lot that God is the friend that sticks closer than a brother. And he was with me through, I mean, he's always been present. He's always been watching. Like, that's who he is. That's what he does. And I there would obviously be episodes where I couldn't see him and I couldn't feel him, and it was just like it was just me, and it would be self-centered, and I would just be reeling in anxiety and hatred and anger, and then I would snap out of it, and I would be like, "Oh, wait a second, this is all a part of a plan," and that really gave me hope in a lot of just continuing on and going forward and whatnot. But the friendship life definitely affected my mental health for sure. Which that involves a lot of I did not have a good mental health growing up. Ever since I was like really, really young, I was very hyper aware of the shape of people, which I guess fair if I was taking on to be an artist very early on, but um I was hyper aware of how big I was in comparison to everybody else. Even when I was like I recognize this now that I probably should not have been that um hyper aware as a kid, because that's all I ever thought about. I tried to distract myself by being the friend that I wanted everybody to be to me to other people. Um, but I was always aware that I was bigger than my friends, or that everybody else around me was thinner than I was. And it didn't really help because the very few people that were in my class for a long time were just nothing but skinny minis. And that probably didn't do me any favors growing up into middle school. And then middle school and high school were pretty brutal, especially on that part, because um, that's all I could ever focus on. And I remember I didn't realize that I was sneaking food until actually very recently. I look back on these moments that I didn't think about until I guess now. I would sneak food because I it was the only thing that made me feel better, which I understand that's how food addicts generally are, and that's how that starts. I don't do that now. I haven't done that in a very long time, but it was a thing. It was definitely a thing. Because life was not all rainbows and sunshine for a really long time. Um, but yeah, I struggled with dare I say it, body dysmorphia. And then I uh hit high school and everything just kicked into mega gear. I attempted doing some very stupid things very often. Um, and I ended up becoming, I would say, a little bit addicted to, um, I guess, self harm. Um, and it would only be in episodes, though. Like, I wouldn't do it regularly, but when I got to a certain point in, like, a spiral, that was kind of all that I really did. Um, and that really sucked, but uh, yeah, it just kind of spiraled out of control, and I ended up uh, in places that I really shouldn't have been, and in situations that could have definitely been avoided. Um, but God is good because He got me out of those situations, and I acknowledge that He, um, even though I was abusing the temple that He had given me, the body that He had given me, He was still good. He still helped me, and He still got me through the darkness that I was in, that I continually am in. This isn't something that I'm not one of those Christians that can say, "Oh, God freed me from my anxiety and depression." I still feel it. I still feel it all the time, and that's not because I haven't given my life to Christ, or I haven't said, "Oh God, take my anxiety, like I've served, I've devoted, like I've done it, and there is a reason why I still struggle with these things, and I understand that. It still sucks, but I know that God will make that serve other people somehow in some way. So, um, I guess the last thing, a part of my testimony that I really kind of don't talk about a lot, is I have had many, many friends commit, have offed themselves. I've had so many friends either attempt and or commit, and that really affected me a lot growing up. It happened in a very short amount of time, though. Like, it would just kind of be one after another after another. The first time was like I had never experienced any sort of death before, and when I got the news that this individual had done what he had, I couldn't really I couldn't really tell you what I did. It's all so blurry, but um it it was a lot. It was hard. And it was really really hard because I felt like I was going through it alone, because um my there were closer people in my life that um couldn't understand how someone could be so attached to somebody over the internet, and that was really really hard. I know my mom was there for me, but otherwise it was most people have forgotten that that was something that I had dealt with, and things didn't really start amping up until I started dealing with it in real life. There were in person friends that started doing it, and there were situations where I actually friends of mine had friends that I knew of. They just weren't my personal friends that were like actually about to do something stupid, and there was a situation where I told my friend at the time, or not at the time, she's still my friend, but I told her to give me her mother's phone number, and I called her mom, and then we very quickly had to figure out how to get the information of this mutual friend of this of hers, so he could, survive. And he did. We got to him in time. We had to like jump rope and talk to third parties of like, hey, do you know this kid? Do you have the information? Is there any way to know where he is? Do you know his parents? Like, etc. Um, and all within about an hour, I'd say, we got things done, and people were called, and he survived. But that was the first time where I didn't tell anybody about it. Um, the only people who were there were the people who knew about it, and somehow my mom found out. Because how do you go up to somebody and say, oh yeah, so this happened, like I how do you talk to somebody about that? How do you say, I did this, but without sounding like arrogant or like you want something. It's just because you want to tell somebody. And I wish I had known earlier back then that it's okay to just walk up and say, hey, I feel like I need to tell somebody about this, and then tell them. That is something I should have. If I could go back and tell my younger self, I probably would do that. But yeah, no, there have been, especially the past, I want to say 4 or 5 years. There have been quite a handful, over a handful of instances where we were not so lucky and people did not make it. And it was really hard. Each time it's harder. Each time it's a new pain, a new sensation. Actually, the most recent, a couple of months ago, um, one of my closest friends actually tried to commit right in front of me in a way. Like it was slow. I can't say words because of YouTube will kill me and all that stuff, or not kill me, but they'll uh flag me down or whatever because of the words. So um I'll just say it had something to do with pills, and I didn't realize she had been taking them at the time. And there was like a whole thing where it was, she wasn't feeling good while I was there, and it wasn't, like something was obviously wrong, but we were like, okay, we'll go to the doctor and we'll see what happens. And I left, and then about a week later, I get a call from a I get a call from a mental health clinic from my friend, saying, like, explaining what happened. And the day that I left was her plan was the day that I left to be the last day that she was there, that she was with us. And that um you can't really make that stuff up. Like, you it, I if I looked if my younger self looked and could see and saw that I had this type of life planned out in the next couple of years, I don't think she would have, like, I think she would have given up right then and there. And I think that's why God doesn't allow us to see situations like that coming, because if we knew about it, we would give up, and we wouldn't think that we were strong enough for it, and we wouldn't think that we'd be able to survive, and we wouldn't want to do it, and we would just give up. Um, God has been quite the father to me, and he has helped me through situations that I never thought I would have to go through. I never thought even existed until they actually happened. And um that's why it's really hard for me to hear people be like, well, how can a good God exist when bad things like this happen? When I'm just sitting there thinking, bad things happen. How can you exist without a good God? Like, it's very um I don't know, it's quite a thought to process, I guess. But yeah, and I guess to kind of end it on a positive note, because I know that's very heavy topics, and I will put a little disclaimer on the screen about what is to be talked about, because again, I don't have a script for this. I'm just kind of winging it, and I'm gonna post it, and it's gonna be what it is. But so recently I moved out, and um I moved out without knowing what job that I would get, because the job market where I lived was absolutely horrendous. I had tried everything, applied to everywhere, and I had gotten nothing. I didn't know what my living space would look like. I was worried about making ends meet. But I just got this impression from like I prayed about it. I prayed so much about it, and I just kept getting the you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go. And so I was like, okay. And I did. I moved about 7 hours away from home, and uh, in efforts to move closer to my boyfriend, actually. Long distance. We'd been going long distance for about a year and a half, and I had gone up there several times for visits, and um, it was, yeah, it was working out great, and it is working out great, and it's been amazing because the moment I got here, I have been taken care of. The moment I got here, I got a job the next day. I my ends have been met, and where I could not have provided, I have been provided for, and the grace of people around me has been more than enough to sustain any um, accident or mistake that I have made in the process of going through a new experience and learning new things. Um, it's without a doubt, I have no doubt that um, it is all in the plans of our great Lord, and will forever be grateful. I have not been grateful enough to say thank you for the most God covering, amazing, miraculous experience of my life. I literally did not know where I was going to land. I was brought up to the ravine, the cliff that overhung the massive darkness, the whole abyss, and I was told jump, and I jumped, and that leap of faith has sent me landing on landing over the chasm on a piece of dirt that is so much better than where I originally jumped from. Um I didn't really have a lot of friends at home. I now have a few friends up here. Most of them I actually live with. I have a bunch of housemates. I live with a family. So I've made friends with pretty much everybody who lives in the house. And my boyfriend is 2 minutes down the road, and his family is all around here. So it's just been a really amazing experience. And it is only because of the grace of God that I am able to experience it. And He has carried me through so many different situations, as I've explained. The darkest parts of my life have been graced with God's presence, because He has always been there, and I've known He's always been there. And I have come close. I have come close to making some very stupid things, making very stupid decisions in my life, and He has spared me from doing so. I've made some short form content videos on Instagram, and I've posted them on YouTube as well about them. But I have a verse. I have a Bible verse that I use on a daily basis, and it can always be used in any and every situation that I've come across that is that's hard, that's trialsome, and I will leave it as the closing statement for today, I guess, which is, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. And that is Psalms 34:18. But yeah, so that's my testimony. You guys can stop asking for it now. And I know it's super late, so I'm very sorry about that. And I'm sorry about the audio. I'm sorry that I'm sick. Deal with it. It's a skill issue. So, hope you guys have a great day. Godspeed and God bless, hoodie homies.